Good evening, good evening, good happy Monday evening. And if it's Monday, then that means it's time for Mondays in the Meditation Room with Dr. K for Midlife Musings. This is the space created by the Enlightened Woman Enterprises where you can find all things enlightenment and empowerment for Black women in midlife and those of us who may be experiencing the pause. We like to call it perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, anywhere on that continuum of the pause. And even before and even after, this is a welcoming space for you, my sister. You are welcome. Welcome to the Enlightened Woman Tribe. We are so glad that you are here, where we are not in a midlife crisis, but we get to redefine our midlife as a season of reimagining, reigniting, rebirthing of our best selves as we walk into this significant season of our lives. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you are here. Happy May. It's still May. It's still the beginning of May. It is my birth month. Woo-hoo. I'm celebrating all month long. My birthday is actually not until May 24th, but this is my spring reset month, and I'm so excited about focusing, reassessing, and making major and minor adjustments to make sure that my future self will be so happy for the things that I did right now today. So, welcome, welcome in the room. Go ahead, text your sister friend, text your girlfriend, your daughters, your mom and them. Go ahead, text them, call them, email them, tell them to join you in the room. Matter of fact, you just ought to start scheduling some watch parties with your posse, with your sisterhood, with your girls, and let's learn how to walk in our most optimal selves and have some kindness and grace and compassion for ourselves in this season. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. I just want to say thank you. If you are in the DMV area, more specifically the Maryland area, I want to remind you that we are in our primary voting season. So make sure you use your right to vote. Early voting is happening right now, and then primary voting for Maryland is May 14th. So make sure you are registered, check your registration and your polling place. However, if you are voting early, you can go to several places that maybe not even your normal polling place, but you can go there to register. So check out all of the information in Google. And I can't tell you who to vote for, but I just want to say that I'm looking forward to Maryland making some history during this season of voting. You know, we can make history and make the delegation of Maryland look more representative of us. Right. So I'm not ashamed to tell you that I'm backing Angela Also Brooks, but you get to vote for whoever you want and make sure you vote. That's all we're saying. Just make sure you vote. Our ancestors and our foremothers paid a price for us to be able to do so. So let's do that. All right. So I'm excited about continuing this month of May. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and one of the national themes is take a moment. Take the moment. Take a moment. In other words, take a moment to pay attention to and nurture your mental health. And so during the month of May in the meditation room, we're talking about minding your midlife mind, taking the moment to nurture your mind and your emotions. Man, it was so nice. I had to do it twice. I know you enjoyed last Monday. Oh man, with my friend, my sister friend, the incomparable and just anointed woman of God, the Reverend and the co-pastor of the Gift Church, sister. I'm sorry, not sister. Well, she's my sister. Co-pastor Lisa Clark Harvin. She is back with me on tonight to finish the conversation. And without further ado, I'm just gonna bring her up to the stage so we can get to getting on this conversation.
Hey, hello, hello.
Welcome, welcome back to the meditation room. I'm
Thank
just
you.
Man, I was just so excited and so pleased with our conversation. And I pray that the women were empowered and strengthened and encouraged and
Yes.
educated, enlightened, and given the freedom and the permission. They don't need permission, but sometimes we have to give ourselves permission
We
to be
do.
our own best advocate for
Yes.
our wellness. And
Yes.
sometimes we focus on our physical and our mental and emotional
Whew.
goes lacking. But it's all together, y'all. It's all connected. Our
All
spirit,
connected.
soul, mind, and body.
Holistic.
This is
Yes.
the holistic kind of thing. So let's welcome. I was teasing last week saying I got to get me a clap machine and a to say welcome, welcome back to the room. And for those sisters who maybe they missed last week, so they're watching for the very first time, one of the questions I like to ask my guests is uh, give some adjectives or description as to where they are in this moment in their lives of midlife and who they would say they are in this moment of midlife. And what I love about it, whatever she said last week, she could say something different this week because that's
It's
our
probably gonna be different too. So who am I, Lisa, in my midlife experience right now? I would the word I would use is uh in process. I guess those are two words. So I'm still yet developing.
Mhm.
In the words of our forever first lady, I am yet becoming.
Coming, yes.
I am still learning about me, and but I'm excited. You know, I'm very excited about this next phase of my life and who I am yet to be. I'm just it's a time of self-discovery. It's just a wonderful time, a confusing, sometimes terrifying
Mhm.
time, sometimes even frustrating
Yeah.
time of self-discovery. Where you're learning, I'm learning to let go of old Lisa, and
Mhm.
that's a hard thing to do. I am grieving, and so we're gonna
Mhm.
talk about grief. I am absolutely grieving who I was, that young, vibrant, get up and go, stay up all night, have
Mhm.
all
Oh
nighters.
my God.
Can't do any of that anymore. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, part of me misses her. Part
Mhm.
of me misses her. But at the same time, I am learning to love
Mhm.
Lisa, 2.0.
Yes, I love it, love it, love it. That is so good. And I
Yes.
really want us to have some time to really talk about our topic on tonight. So, the one of the reasons why, because Enlightened Women, we like to bring you the best. And I believe that she is the best at what she does. I call her a grief doula. She is the CEO of Sorrow to Serenity, helps us acknowledge and walk through and educate us about loss and to elevate it to a part of life, not anything that we need to be afraid of or not talk about, but to make that a welcome part of our life because it is a part of our life. And I'd rather be empowered through these types of seasons of our lives and to expand the definition of it. And so I'm glad she's going to be here because this is part two of our Mind Your Midlife Mind focus for the month of May. And tonight I'm calling it, Is It Just Me or Am I Losing My Mind? Mental and emotional
Girl.
challenge of grief and loss during the transition and transformation of midlife and the pause. Because she literally just gave an introduction and segue about talking about how she misses that part of who she was, that Lisa that she was then.
True.
And a lot of times we don't even talk about that because
No.
we pigeonhole grief about the physical loss of a loved one
Mm, right.
when there are, I mean, we grieve so many things. So we're gonna talk about that on tonight. And here's our challenge too, is that we need to identify and embrace the necessary, and I believe there's a book called Necessary Endings, but
There
embrace
is.
the
Yep.
necessary endings and new beginnings
New beginnings.
remain to midlife and peri and postmenopause, that it is a part of it, and we have to learn how to embrace it, and to say thank God for it. Um,
Right.
so Lisa brought up a good point when she said, I miss her, because the way I used to do things back in the day, stay up all night, eat whatever I wanted, get up and go, hang out. And now, and be clear, we want to say, we're not saying that you cannot have a thriving,
Oh my goodness.
optimal, healthy,
Absolutely.
exciting,
It's just different.
adventurous life. It's just different.
It's just different.
And
It's
you make those major and minor adjustments for it.
right. And the first part is just acknowledgement, right? So when we talk about grief, and I'm glad you said that, that we as a community, we believe that grief is only equated to physical death, or losing a pet, losing a friend.
Mhm.
But grief is so much more than that. We actually are grieving every single day,
Mm.
because we grieve decisions that we
Mhm.
made.
Woo!
There's so many things that we grieve that we don't acknowledge, but if we're really honest, we are grieving everything. There's so many things. I
Wow.
mean, every single day that we are, our life is full of grief, whether we
Mhm.
acknowledge it or not. It's full of decisions that we've made. It's full of relationships that have broken down. It's full of purchases that we've made that now we're like, oh, what did I do? There's so many things that we grieve. But we only think grief with a funeral. But there are
Wow.
so many times where we have lost things, and then we've not had that normal experience of burial and repasts and all
Mhm.
those things, right? That will trigger us to say, okay, this is time of grief. No,
Mhm.
when we think about menopause, a lot of times we think that menopause and grief don't go hand in hand, but the reality is many of us, most of us, if we're honest, are struggling to
Mhm.
come to terms with Mother Nature's roller coaster ride called menopause.
Yes.
And
So, Lisa, what would you give us as a simple, I know, well, there's nothing simple about it, but more succinct kind of definition of
of
grief?
grief. So,
Mhm.
grief is a natural response to a loss, period.
Mhm.
That's the most simplest explanation I can give you, a definition I can give you of grief. It is a natural, normal response to a loss, whether that loss is physical, emotional, financial, uh, uh, relational. There are all types of losses. And
Mhm.
anytime we experience a loss, our natural response is grief.
Mhm. And which is an emotion, it's a feeling, right?
It's a
And an
feeling,
emotion,
it's an emotion,
and it's a
and
gift that God gave us to process loss.
it's absolutely a gift, because it's a vehicle
Mhm.
to process that loss. That's
Mhm.
what grief is.
Mhm.
And it comes in many types. We have normal grief, complicated grief, anticipatory grief. We have disenfranchised grief. There's all different types of grief.
Wow,
And
wow.
when we talk about menopause, I believe disenfranchised grief, which is that grief that's hidden, the grief that's not
Mhm.
socially accepted.
Oh, come
So
on.
that is the grief that we experience as women, because we don't want to acknowledge that, hey, I'm struggling with the fact that I'm not going to be able to have children anymore.
Yes. Oh, that's what I was
If
going to
I
talk about.
or I've never had child. I've never had a child, and now I'm in menopause, so I'll never. So the
Mm.
finality of I will
Woo!
never be a mom, and
Man,
I'm
Lisa.
struggling, but I'll hide that pain.
Mhm.
I'll hide that grief.
I just want, yeah, I just want to, I have to put that one up there because
Yeah.
because
So you're
we
childless, and now you know that I'll never be a mom because
in
now I'm
that
menopause.
way, in the way that
In
we
the way in the way that our bodies naturally would. So you can still, yes, of course, yes, you can go and adopt. There's other ways to be a mom, but I'll never physically be
Mhm,
able to carry a baby.
mhm.
And to
See
know that,
that term is so powerful for um addition disenfranchised groups. uh,
absolutely.
Globe.
Yeah,
And as women, we're not wearing that as a badge, but it's a reality that we are
we
disenfranchised to
are
a certain degree because we are often discriminated against because we're
absolutely
women,
overlooked.
overlooked
Hmm.
and not believed.
Yeah,
We're vulnerable.
right.
I remember a conversation that Harold and I had, and I can't remember if it was a movie that triggered it or a conversation. I think it was a movie because a husband and wife were at it. They were going at it. I can't even think of the name of it. I'm gonna have to look it up and find it and watch it again. And they ended up switching places. They fell asleep and they ended up switching places.
Hmm.
And as he was embodied, spiritually and emotionally, his wife's body,
Wow.
and they
Wow.
were feeling what the spouse feels. And
Right.
so he had to go for a walk to go somewhere. I can't remember where it was he went. And when they switched back to their bodies, he said, I had no idea how terrified you are all the time,
My. Yeah,
afraid
exactly.
for your safety
Right.
all the time.
All
And
the time.
I remember Harold saying, "Oh my God," he said, "I never thought about that."
Yeah.
I said, "I know, because as a man, you don't have to think about it the way
No,
we have to think about it."
but there is so much invisible grief that
Mhm,
we carry
mhm.
as women. And
Yep.
you don't see it. You don't, it's not something that we put a sign up and say, I'm grieving, I'm hurting, but
Mhm.
we hide.
We hide, we're and but because reproductive health and us as women, we've been made to feel ashamed about our
Absolutely.
bodies, ashamed about our breasts, our hips,
Yeah,
our
all of
whatever
it.
it is that makes us uniquely women.
Right.
We've been taught to be ashamed of it. We're ashamed of our sexuality. We're ashamed of this. We don't want to talk about it. And
Right.
definitely, if you've been violence has been perpetrated against you, if you've been raped or molested or anything, that creates a whole nother level of shame. So
It
even
does.
talk about menopause, those are the things we have to take into consideration when a woman is going through menopause, because
Yes.
she's experiencing that. Just like everything else, when we talk about perimenopause, menopause, we have to take into consideration, and it has to be trauma informed. We don't know, because you're talking about sexual organs, you're talking about your sexuality, so that could be even hard on a woman in menopause and perimenopause because of trauma.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's something that goes unspoken. And that's why I'm glad that you have this platform, because there are so many women right now who are listening or who will watch this broadcast, this rebroadcast, and say, that's me.
Hmm.
And I'm
Lisa, I'm so glad you really brought that home about those things that are we may be grieving specifically in this season,
yeah,
like the changing from the season of birthing to not, when your
yeah,
periods, even if you don't want to have any more children or if
right.
you have children,
But the finality of it
finality that you can't anymore,
can't,
and
because
talking
you have
about
no control, because
you
you've lost
have.
control. We have lost control of
Mhm,
our bodies and feel like our bodies are now betraying us.
mhm,
That's how it feels. When we think about not being able to reproduce and having vaginal dryness, or having the sexual drive that's not there anymore or has changed. So these
mhm,
all these things that are out of our control. And the reality is that is a loss
mhm.
that we grieve.
And we don't, I'm leaving this up because there hasn't been until till now, let me say, the space and the place and the welcoming of the conversation,
Right.
so that a woman doesn't feel like they're losing their mind. I know I don't want to have any children, but that don't mean I'm not sad about it. If
Absolutely.
you tell me
And
that,
you have a
I'm
right to be
sad
sad.
about it.
You have a right to be sad because the reality is God created us to reproduce and now we can't, you
Mm-hmm,
know? And I mean, I'll use myself as an example. I had a hysterectomy, a full hysterectomy, 10 years ago.
mm-hmm,
And while I did it, I went in. Yes, I need to get this done because of my family history.
mm-hmm,
So I need to get it done because my family had a history of ovarian cancer and we saw some precancerous cells. And
mm-hmm,
so, okay, yes, let's do this.
mm-hmm,
Even though I had already had 3 children biologically, I was depressed.
mm-hmm,
And what I didn't know 10 years ago was I was grieving
mm-hmm,
even though I made the decision to go forward with this procedure and have
mm-hmm,
this operation and remove everything. The reality was I was grieving, like, oh my goodness, who
mm-hmm.
am I now that I can't reproduce?
Who am I now? We don't create that
No, and I had no one to talk about it with.
that rite of
No,
passage to go from that place to the other, which is
right.
what a rite of passage is. And I always say midlife is a rite of
It
passage.
is.
It's a season, and it's a process, and you have to go through it to come out into the new being that you're going to be. That was so, so good, Lisa,
The
because
only and listen, the only way out is through. That's
it's
the
true.
only way out. You gotta go through. But and the good part is now people are having these conversations.
Mhm.
10 years ago, nobody was talking about it.
Yep. And I want to say, no, it's not just you, and you are not losing your mind.
No, you're not.
You're not, because, and something as simple, Lisa, listen, something as simple as not being able to eat what you used to be able to eat without having, look, gas, heartburn, stomach problem, digestive,
Girl,
not, you know what I'm saying? Not all of a sudden not being able to fit your clothes because the weight gain
listen,
is happening, and you don't have that body that you used to have.
you don't have it. You're retaining water and you're trying to figure out why. And yeah, this that little small things like that are
Mhm.
really huge, can be really big things.
Hair thinning, because that's a major
Listen,
thing for women. That's part of our identity, our hair. And then if it starts look graying and
girl.
thinning, or the texture completely changes. All of this because of estrogen deficit.
Yep.
We need to manage that and be educated and talk about what's literally happened, because nobody talked to us about the fact that estrogen as a sex hormone, and then we have different estrogen. It's not a estrogen, it's estrogens. We have 3 different estrogens in our body. And when it begins to wane, we find out that estrogen helped us with literally every system in our bodies, from cardiovascular to our endocrine system to our digestive system. It helps us with every system in our body, which is why we feel like we're going crazy, because it's affecting every system in our body, the deficit of it. And the thing is, we want to say that even though you're feeling it, Lisa, maybe talk about some signs of depression. And I know there's not the same, you know, formulaic way to identify depression, but some, maybe 3 or 4, however many you want to share, kind of signs that you might know that you are grieving.
So one of the first things is just fatigue, just being tired, feeling tired or having low energy,
Hmm.
right? That's one of the major signs. And then losing interest in your usual normal activities,
Hmm.
being irritable, just having those moments where you just snap,
Hmm.
having issues with sleeping. It's another big sign of grief. Losing interest in sex.
Hmm.
It may not just be menopause, but it could be grief. You
Hmm.
could be grieving and you just don't have any desire to do anything. So
Hmm.
those are all normal symptoms or signs of grief. Having issues concentrating.
Hmm.
Hmm, another great sign. of grief. Then it could be anxiety. There's a lot of signs that you can look for. Um, and what I would say is if you find yourself experiencing some of those things, so some of those symptoms, as long as they're uh, not the norm. So
Mhm,
if you find yourself having these symptoms for more than 2 weeks,
mhm,
I would say there's a problem.
mhm,
There's a problem. That would be something that we could even look at clinical depression when we talk about
mhm.
experiencing those type of behaviors for 2 solid straight weeks or more.
Wow, wow.
But if you are just, one moment I'm tired, one moment I'm having a bad day, I'm feeling sad this day, but the next day I'm feeling pretty good, you're more than likely in the midst of grief. And
Wow.
it is so important that you, number one, acknowledge that you feel this way, and then allow yourself as you start. We started off with permission. We have to give ourselves permission to
Yes.
feel these feelings. When we have a brain fog, I have them all the time, and I do grieve. I do feel so horrible about having these brain fogs. I find myself being afraid that this is
Mhm,
I'm deteriorating, right?
mhm.
I'm becoming, some old person now, and I'm not going to be as sharp as I used to be, and I find myself fearful of that. That's
Lisa, I was too. So I actually went and got a screening.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a great thing to do.
And that's what we want to say, that even though this is happening right now, one of the things you definitely need to know is to make sure that you have a good well-being team,
You
so that
must.
you go and see them, one for your mind and one for your body, so that they
Yes,
can help you distinguish between menopausal symptoms, because all those things that co-pastor Lisa just said can be symptoms of menopause, or they can be
or depression.
positive symptoms for depression. And you
That's right.
definitely want to make sure you take time to know the difference between the two. And there can be some causality between the two. Because you're depressed, you may be struggling with insomnia, right? Or you may be menopausal and struggling with insomnia, and it's affecting the biorhythm of your body, that then makes you depressed. So you
Absolutely. So you definitely want to have a great relationship with your primary care provider. You also want to make sure that you have a therapist. I would recommend that everyone listening get yourself a therapist. And then, even more than that, find yourself a support group. There may be some ladies, create yourself a circle where you can come and sit and talk to people about what's going on with you, so
Mhm,
that you can see, number one, that you're not crazy. No,
mhm,
I'm not crazy. I'm not losing my mind. This is normal, and it's okay.
mhm,
And if I need to, then I can go and talk to my doctor, and my doctor is someone who's well versed, or at least
mhm,
versed enough to hear you. Because if
mhm,
your doctor's not hearing you, you
mhm.
need to find a new doctor. Doctor's
Absolutely.
trying to tell you it's all in your head. You need to find a new doctor.
Yes, and in this age, if you are in the menopausal years of perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, and let me remind you that menopause literally is 1 24-hour period. It's that day when you are in your 366th day of not having a period, and then once that day is over, you're postmenopausal. So
Mm,
you're the
you're
bulk
educating
of that
people right
time
now.
would be perimenopause, which can, we used to say, the onset of it is like 45 on up, but you have some women, and in
Mm,
particular African American women, who are starting earlier than that. And sometimes it starts because of medical issues, medicine situations happening, where you started earlier, or if you've had a full or partial hysterectomy, which I've also had. But I also dealt with the continuing concerns, because I still had my ovaries and it was super cervical. So I still have my cervix. So I still need to do pap smears to make sure I'm not dealing with cervical cancer or anything like that. And so every woman's journey is different.
right.
And so you have to do what's best for you. But we're saying you need to have that conversation with your doctors. And just as co-pastor Lisa just said, if they're not hearing you, you have the right
The right.
to go see and find another doctor. And we're saying Google and find and ask questions for a GYN or OBGYN that has menopause experience or are who specialize in menopause, because you will find that. And the thing that I love now is that you can even get help online
Mm,
because of this.
yeah.
There are now many reputable OBGYN and women doctors who have started online
Teletherapy is wonderful.
therapies to get. Alloy is one, MIDI Health is one. So there's several. I'm going to start leaving some resources on my IG and on my Facebook page that you can literally interact with the doctor. And here's the other thing: you need to know that there's relief. One of the first things that co-pastor Lisa said, acknowledge it. Be okay with finding someone to talk with. And I guarantee if you have good girlfriends that's around your age, you're
Right.
all going through some of these same things. So you need to find some time to support each other and create that safe and sacred space to do so, right? And then make sure you have a good well-being team that will help you and change until you find what works for you, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely have
Please.
to do that. And then know that it's a whole body thing. So you may have to do some changes in and find a nutritionist that will help you eat what works for your body, right?
Yep.
What we eat and what we drink matters. We might used to been able to drink alcohol and throw it back and hang out. We can't do alcohol. It's not the best thing for us in this season of our lives, and that's a loss too, right?
Yes, it
So
is.
you
Because
can't
am I
have your
correct
alcohols
that
like you used
alcohol
to.
doesn't alcohol bring, or couldn't it impact our, as far as vaginal dryness?
You would be
I
surprised
thought
when
so.
it exacerbates
Yeah.
everything. And so they're literally saying find something else to do and just kind of let that go, right?
And
I
so
was
you're
like,
gonna grieve that. You're not gonna be able to have the good time that you used to have in your 20s.
mm-hmm,
That's why I started off saying I really do miss that girl,
mm-hmm,
part of that girl,
mm-hmm,
part of that girl. I miss that. I miss that, I could was just free and do whatever I want to do, at least, you
mm-hmm,
know. And now I have to really be more intentional
mm-hmm.
about everything I do. I have to be very intentional. And so I miss that freedom, right? And I'm grieving that freedom. I am. But this is the thing about grief and menopause and perimenopause, that it's all about accepting and adjusting.
Mhm.
Grief
Yep.
is about accepting and adjusting. That
Celebrate the then and celebrate the now.
that's it. That's it.
Hmm.
That's all. That's the grief process. You
Embrace the body you have now and take the best care of it that you can,
That's it.
and create your new
Normal.
reality, your new normal.
Your new normal.
Because if it's 9 o'clock, my body is shutting down.
It's shutting down.
Doing any work. I'm not answering no emails. I'm not, because even if I am, I'm not. My brain is not operating the way it used
Right.
to. I used to be able to stay up all night and write
Right.
papers and sermons, and not anymore. I have to adjust that. I literally
You
need
do.
to sleep.
And it's okay to grieve that. It's okay to miss that. It's okay to be sad about it. Listen, let your tears flow, because when you let those tears flow, that's tension that you're releasing.
Yes,
Do that.
yes,
Do that. And then make the adjustment.
yes.
Okay? That's who you were, and this is who I am now. And I'm going to celebrate who I am now and acknowledge who I am now. And have your funeral. Listen.
Look, come on here.
Oh,
Those rituals are major for me now. You have to create those
listen.
rituals of those necessary endings and celebrating
Yes.
new beginnings,
Yes.
because you're
Ashes to
really
ashes, dust to
not
dust. I'm moving on to the new Lisa.
mm-hmm,
And I have buried the
mm-hmm.
old one. And
Yep.
I've had to repass all of it. I had my ice cream. I done
I
all
love
that.
it. I love it. And
And now,
our vibrancy is a new type of vibrancy to
absolutely.
me that's fueled by a level of confidence that I didn't have.
That's it.
When I was young, I was just going through so much emotionally and emotionally not sure of myself, second guessing myself, trying to heal from the
Absolutely.
past and all of that. And but it's something about when you cross this threshold,
It's
it's something
something about
about
it. Yeah. And
that
that
you have
person
a
I don't
level
miss.
of knowing and settling in your spirit of who
Yeah.
you are, that
Yeah.
you're not intimidated by anybody else and their walk and their journey. And you can celebrate somebody else and not thinking that it takes anything from you. That's the
It,
blood.
and it's amazing because when I'm postmenopause,
Hmm.
and initially I had experienced moments of losing confidence in myself and
Hmm.
confidence in my health, all those things. Again, I was grieving, but then, like you said, at some point it was like you had this aha moment, at least I
Hmm.
did, where I'm like,
Hmm.
hey, okay, yeah, I did lose confidence in myself and my health for a moment
Hmm.
and for a season because I was grieving. But now, wait a minute. I don't have to I don't have to deal with. I am Lisa Maria Clark Harvin, and I'm 50 plus, and I'm okay. I love me.
I
And
love me
but
and
it
I'm
but
okay.
it
And
I
I
had to process. I
yeah, it's a
allow
process
myself
though.
I had to allow myself to feel the loss of confidence and the loss of
Hmm.
of of who I am and my health and my self-worth for a moment because of this postmenopausal. Yeah, I am not that lady that I was, but you know what? I'm good.
And I think feeling that is also part of the process.
It
Just
is.
second guessing yourself, not,
It is.
questioning your self-worth and not that's all part of the
It's
process.
all part of it, and now you get to try on new identities, and you can
Mm-hmm.
recreate who you are and discover just the possibilities are endless. They're
Yep.
endless, but it starts with allowing yourself to feel the grief of
Hmm.
who you used to be.
I love it. That's why we're full of the re's. When we talk about enlightened woman, we say we're redefining, reimagining, recreating,
Creating, that's it.
experiencing a rebirth, all of the above. And so, but part of that, enlightened woman sisterhood, let me say, is part of that is allowing ourselves to grieve and being
Yes.
okay and not feeling like we're out of our minds or that we're by ourselves. And
Not
the world at large is always trying to make women feel inferior or less than or too emotional or not good leaders because of this, that, and the other. And actually the new research says that because we lead from our hearts, we are better leaders. Because we have
mm,
greater emotional intelligence, we we are better leaders.
my
Because you
mind.
can't shut off part of yourself and then be a good leader of other humans.
Right, right.
That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day, but this is absolutely phenomenal. And you need to know that we're here to tell you that even though it feels like it's just you and you're losing your
It's
mind,
not. You're
you're not.
not, and it's not just you.
You're
So
actually
stop.
finding yourself.
And I just can't stress to look for those symptoms: feeling down, tiredness, loss of concentration, anger or irritability. Your interest has changed. You have issues with sleeping, whether it's not sleeping enough or it's oversleeping, or you're feeling isolated. All those things. If you find yourself see yourself in any of that list, drinking
Mhm,
too much,
mhm,
undereating, overeating, um,
mhm.
underperforming. If you find
Sleeping
yourself
too
in
much?
that list, you find
Lisa,
yourself in that list,
sleeping too much?
sleeping too much,
Mhm,
right? If you find yourself there and it's for 2 weeks or more, then
mhm,
we need you need to seek some
mhm,
additional support,
mhm,
clinical support. Hear me,
mhm,
hear me, hear me. Clinical support. But if it's just sporadic, where
mhm,
one day you just feel like sleeping and the next day you're feeling okay, and
mhm,
then maybe 2 days later you're having that's grief, and that's okay.
mhm.
And you have to allow yourself to experience grief in this menopause experience.
Yeah.
It's absolutely normal, necessary, because
Mhm.
it is a loss.
Mhm.
You're closing the chapter to one part of you and opening the book to the next chapter.
We want to restore your hope that what
Absolutely.
you're feeling right now, you don't have to always feel, and you're
You
not going to
don't.
always feel, but
You're
allow
not.
yourself to travel through it. And like co-pastor Lisa said earlier, the key is through. You're
Through.
traveling through it. It's not your destination. It's just a
It's not.
part of the journey, because we want you to come out of that cocoon as that beautiful butterfly in this spring season of blooming. We That is the goal for this
Yes.
season in our lives too, is to do the same. And don't feel ashamed or embarrassed, because you may have a
Mhm.
season where you may need medical support. You may need some medicines to help you get over that season,
Absolutely.
and it
And
is
that's
not
okay.
as scare as it was for hormone replacement therapy. I know the Swan report some 20 years ago kind of scared everybody off of it, but with the right doctor, they can give you the right dose for a limited period of time just to relieve some of those symptoms. You do not have to
Yes.
suffer
I
inside,
did it. Yes.
because
And it
they
was very
said,
helpful to me.
yes, see, thank you for that
Yes.
testimony. And I know several
Yes.
women who have, and so don't turn away, don't let it cause you to be so afraid from what you heard before. Things are a little bit different now, and doctors can really help you in that area if you deem that necessary and right for you. Make that decision between you and your wellness team to determine what's best for you. But no, you do not have to suffer, especially if your symptoms are interfering with your daily life, your work life,
Right.
and you
Right.
don't have to suffer like that, because 87% is way too high for women who are dealing with perimenopause, menopausal symptoms, and not getting any medical care for it or attention. So we want this to be a season where you're living optimally and thriving as you go through the process, and know
And
that
live
grief is a part of it.
out. I
Mhm.
can't stress
Yes,
this
say
enough.
that part
Out,
again. That's what we
live
learned in
out
the
loud.
workshop.
Live
Mhm.
out loud. Grieve out loud. You don't have to hide it. Grieve out loud. Live out loud. And it's okay. We can grieve and still be excited about the future.
Come on here, Lisa. Say that again. Say that
You
again.
grieve, you can grieve, you can grieve, you can lament and be excited about tomorrow.
Yes. It
Yes.
doesn't mean you're weak or something's wrong with
No,
you. It
no.
just means you're divinely human.
You're human. We
Woo, I
can do
love it.
this. We can do this, ladies. We can do this.
Yay. Thank you for joining. Oh man, we could just talk about this all month, man. I'm telling you, this is so powerful. So we want you to mind your midlife mind, taking
Mind your mind.
intentional moments for mental and emotional well-being. And we've spent the last 2 Mondays really encouraging you. And our guest, co-pastor Lisa Clark Harvin, has been such an inspiration and help to us, my God, to help us process and go through and know that we can go through. And if you need more information, I'm going to put it up. Sorrow to Serenity has a Facebook page too, or
Yes.
IG.
Sorrow
So
to
let me,
Serenity has a Facebook page as well as an Instagram and a YouTube. You can go on and you'll see some videos about the different types of grief. Um, I'll be doing some videos on loss right now because, of course, we're coming into Mother's Day and Father's Day and Memorial Day. So I'll have some material on just some encouraging words and just helping those of us who have experienced loss to process and to deal with these special days as they come. So yeah, so there's a lot of information on all those platforms that can assist you with your grief journey.
Mhm.
And then I also have prayer at our church with the women. every Monday night at 10 p.m. Facebook Live. You certainly are welcome to join. We just pray as a collective for one another, not just about our grief, but whatever's going on with our children and our families and our jobs. And we can absolutely incorporate, our midlife crisis and our midlife life that we find ourselves in, right? We need prayer about that, but it starts
Yes.
in a conversation. So we got to have conversations. So
I'm
it's
glad we're bringing that up too, because we're not neglecting our spirit, right? We started in Light Woman, we would say, because we're mastering our midlife. But I also added, because Holy Spirit kind of tugged me and say, yeah, master your midlife inner life, and that inner life
absolutely.
includes your spirit woman. You
Mm,
we are not separating that from this journey and from this
right,
process, and
right.
it's my spiritual practices, my spiritual disciplines, my
Mm,
relationship with
that's
God, with
it.
the Holy
That keeps
Spirit
us.
keeps us right through this process. It's what's keeping me grounded, and my quiet time and my meditation quiet time and getting alone with God. And even your time doesn't have to look like mine or
It
anybody
doesn't.
else's, but you need to get that quiet time and to just breathe to help you ground. So you can join co-pastor Lisa on Mondays. You can come to Mondays in the meditation room at 7, and
Absolutely.
take a break, take a walk, and then join her for prayer. I bet you'll sleep better.
I know I do. I absolutely do. And before we go, I just want to make sure that we talked about practices, spiritual practices. When you're in this grief journey, during and post menopause, pre menopause, it's important that we do make sure that we take good care of our spirit. So
Mm.
that's part of your grief journey. So I would
Oh,
recommend,
yes, that's
um,
spiritual breathing.
journaling. I would recommend journaling. I would recommend exercising, yoga. All those things will help you during your grief, in your grief process. So whatever your thing is, gardening, whatever your thing is that brings you joy, that gives you life,
Mhm.
while you're grieving, while you're processing, while you're dealing with, struggling with, fighting with, wrestling with the changes that are happening into you, the losses that are acknowledging. Make sure that you're doing something good for you. Do something good for you, whether that's a
Oh,
spa,
that's so good. Do something good for you.
something good for you. Take a walk, put on some music, take a hot bath, whatever your
Mhm.
thing is, do it, because that's going to help your grief process. That's going to help you, as Dr. K said, it grounds you. It
Mhm.
will ground you, will help you. Sometimes grounding, sometimes you have to walk around. For me, walking around barefoot sounds
Mhm.
strange, but
No,
it's a
it's
thing.
true. It's
Oh
true.
my goodness.
We are connected to the earth, and we're not crazy because we think like that.
Listen.
We've been, look, this is not good English, but women been doing that.
So, and all of those things help us process our loss.
Hmm.
Sounds silly, but it works.
It works.
So do whatever you need to do to take care of you.
I love it. And
That's
this
all I
is
have to
one of
say.
the ways you can take care of yourself, is get in the company or the presence of like-hearted women
Yes.
who come to this space and place to be encouraged, to be
Yes.
empowered, be enlightened, to laugh, to cry, to learn, to dance, to do it all. The Serenity
Oh,
Experience is a uniquely created experience just for you for this season. It's
register.
the experience for women in midlife, well, worthy, and wealthy, September 20th and 21st, 2024. Man, register today. You can
Register.
go to enlightenedwoman.global and click on the Serenity Experience and register today. You got all kind of payment plans. You can work it out. And we are going to be at the Pearl Modern Spa. We're going back to the Pearl Modern Spa
Back
and
to the
Boutique
pearl.
a wedding. Columbia, Maryland. And I would, if you thinking about coming to join us, let's go ahead and make your reservations, because they book up very quickly. From 9, I think they open to probably about 12. So you can be free and dressed and ready to come join us when we get started at 1:30 for our workshops. But we start on Friday night, y'all. Can I tell you? Woo, that woo. Look, Friday, I'm calling it Friday Flow, a grown woman thing soiree. We're gonna have a great time. I'm doing the opening workshop on Friday night called The Power of the P. I ain't gonna tell you nothing else but that. You got to
Come
show up
on.
tonight to hear what that's gonna be. And then I'm so excited because we have our facilitators, well, I'm calling them the Your Serenity Experience experts. I'm just put that up there. Dr. Marcia Levi, phenomenal. Last year was her
Phenomenal.
with us. You do not want to miss her. She's talking about worthy. It's Serenity Session 2. I did it backwards. What I am worthy, honoring the mind and body connection for holistic well-being. Oh my gosh, I should have started with Dr. Sharon Allison Adi, our resident doctor
Phenomenal.
for the Serenity Experience. She's doing well. The Serenity Session 1, I Choose to Thrive, Wellness Strategies for Optimal Health During Midlife and Menopause. And can I tell you how excited I am to welcome LaShawn Holland? Woo! She's
Woo.
talking to us about wealthy. Serenity Session number 3, Midlife Money Moves, Mastering My Money Mindset for
My,
Freedom and
my.
Legacy. Woo, y'all. You don't want to miss it.
You
I'm telling
don't. You don't. You don't. You don't. And can I just say, I was there. It was phenomenal. I mean, I was tremendously blessed. I received so much information. I still have, look, I got my thing, my back scratcher.
you.
Um,
Yeah.
got all my little goodies that I got from the experience. I want you to register and listen. It doesn't matter your age, because
Yes,
listen, all of
it's
us are gonna
intergenerational, and we need to pass that
we right. So
knowledge
we
on.
need to make sure our young ladies, our young women understand what is they're about to embark on, right? And so what better way to be prepared than to be in a room with other women who have experienced it or are experiencing it? You can get a wealth of information.
Mhm.
Listen, Dr. K did not ask me to say this. I'm saying it because I was there. I
Yes.
was there and I was blessed. I was so blessed, and I will be there again. I will be there this year. I would encourage you. You want to be in the room? Listen, the Pearl is a spectacular place. You can
Mhm.
get yourself your massage. You can go
Mhm.
get in the hot tub. You can go to the sauna. You can do all those things and get a wealth of information
Yes,
about our
absolutely.
bodies, what's happening with us, and now we can even add our finances. You know,
Mhm.
again, because we haven't
That's
even talked about
holistic.
the loss.
That's a whole nother. Oh my God. Ooh, yes.
Listen,
Okay.
decisions that we've made that we shouldn't have made, and now we're
Ooh,
living with it. Hello, you talk about
hello.
grief. Don't even get me started.
I know.
So register, register, register. I'm
Yes.
telling you,
And let me tell you, don't wait to the last minute, because
please don't.
this, even though this is for women, this is an intimate group. Is we don't have it's not a huge kind of thing for us, at least not right now. My goal is to make it intimate enough so that we can really have some connection and intimacy in our time together. So the space is limited. I know people say that all the time, but literally it is. And so don't miss it. Grab your
Don't
friends,
miss
grab
the
your
Gift Nation,
daughters.
ladies. Register.
Yep. Yep. I absolutely love y'all. Thank y'all so much for joining us once again for Mondays in the meditation room with Dr. K for Midlife Musings. We are excited. Help me thank our special guest for the last
Thank
2
you. God is
weeks,
good.
Pastor Lisa Clark
Thank you. Thank
Harvin.
you. Thank
Follow her and just allow God to bless you through the ministry. She's our grief doula, and we absolutely love her. Y'all have an amazing, restful night. Put some comments in the chat as we teach and help each other. Love you. See you next time in the meditation room. Don't forget to spend some time rediscovering the joy of who you are in midlife.
you.